Hi folks, back in the workshop today for a very quick bonus video to share a few tools, so stick around and I'll show you my bargain finds. As you know, I'm always up for saving a bit of money and finding a bargain. Well, I guess that's the DIY way, isn't it? Anyway, here's the latest haul from, not Tesco's, sorry for a bit of cross-branding, from our friend Lidl. Lidl and Aldi quite often sell tools ranging from screwdriver bits to bandsaws, table saws and welders. And some of that is rubbish, but some of it is incredibly good value. And here are a few of those, which I thought I'd share. So I popped in there at the weekend to pick up some dishwasher tablets and spotted these clamps, and I thought, well, I'll try them, and I bought 2 packs. Now the packs are £5 each. So I brought a pair of them back, and as with all of these bar clamps, speed clamps, whatever you want to call them, you can reverse them. So you can put this section at the other end and use it to push something apart, which I figured was the easiest way to test the strength of these. So I did that, and I was just basically jacking up the workbench. The workbench is about 60, 70 kilo, I imagine, especially loaded with tools underneath. And it did them no problem. There was no, although it's plastic, like a lot of clamps, there was no massive give. You could tell it wasn't going to break anytime soon. Now the only similar clamps I've got to compare it to are some B&Q ones, which I've been using for a few years now, and I've kind of put through their paces as well. Now, again, these are not crazy high end. However, they were, I think, something like £12 a pair or £15 a pair, which is a good 3 times the price of these. So basically exactly the same deal. The gauge of this bar is a bit thicker, so there's that to bear in mind, but essentially the movement and everything else felt pretty similar about them. Anyway, I was impressed enough that I went back yesterday around lunchtime and bought quite a few more. Also picked up 2 of the other sets which had some 150mm clamps, but also came with 2 dinky ones. In my experience, these break pretty quickly, but they can be quite useful for just clamping on a little bit of trim. But still, less than £2.50 a clamp. Unless you're so tool savvy that you can't face having something from Lidl on your tool rack, that you just can't go too far wrong. But at the end of the day, I'd much rather have 12 lower quality budget clamps for 30 quid than buying 2 of the high end ones and really getting a fairly similar sort of performance. I'm finally kind of getting a few of the tools that I know are going to make a huge difference on the jobs I've got in hand, but there's always more. and upgrading my bandsaw is one. When we get back to doing some more workshop and woodworking type jobs, I really want to look at getting a bigger bandsaw. And also a track saw is another thing that I want to look at. And I do know that there's a lot of low-end track saws which are getting hugely, very good reviews. The likes that you get from Aldi and Lidl and stuff like that. Because again, a lot of this is just rebadged. It's the same guts inside it. So I'm still on the fence there, but when I do get one, that's going to be great for cutting down sheet material accurately, because having a table saw is great, but it's noisy, it's dusty. You don't really want to be throwing around full-size sheets of plywood or MDF or anything like that on it. And a track saw just makes sense. Set it up outside, it's clean, dust extraction, yeah. So we'll continue with the circular saw on the jig for now, but that's one to keep on my list. So we do need to find some space for those, and whilst I was there, I always have a rummage. Some weeks there's just nothing, some weeks there's everything. I always use these. I'm just lazy when it comes to making tool storage because we don't have a workshop really set up yet. I always buy these when they come on. They're magnetic strips, and I've got them everywhere really. I've got them in the other room as well. And just for the stuff that you really can't find a home for, or it's not worth making a proper dedicated space for, they're just so simple. just so, things like card scrapers and squares and odd files and things on there. And over here, even my old plane, which I use for pretty rough stuff, providing you put the back of it on there, nowhere near the blade, it's all good. So I bought another 2 of those, and of course you can use them for kitchen knives and things like that. And remember way back, maybe 3 years ago, I did that oak knife rack. It was basically an IKEA one of these, and then I veneered it in oak, so it looked like just a strip of timber on the wall, but things stuck to it. That was quite a cool project. I'll see if I can find that out. And then last of all, these came back on sale, the Japanese saws. I haven't seen the little tiny trim saws. I bought one once 2 years ago, and I still use it all the time, but they haven't come back on sale yet, and I'm not desperate for one. But the larger one I've been using for the oak frame, and again, it was like £4 or £5, so another one of those can't hurt. But I will put this one away, otherwise I'll be tempted to dive straight into that one, whereas the other one's still got plenty of life in it. Whilst we're discussing tools, I thought I'd touch on the video that we did with the with B&Q with the Bauer tools. Now, of course, I'm used to it. Being a YouTuber, saying you like one brand more than another, or even, heaven forbid, being paid for anything, you're going to get it in the neck from some people. But at the end of the day, it's a video that I didn't take lightly as far as just jumping in and signing up straight away. Now, we've had other tool companies offer to send us free stuff, but at the end of the day, if you've already got a couple of drills, what's the point in being sent another one just to feature for the sake of featuring it? Whereas, I hadn't got a cordless multi-tool or a cordless jigsaw, and for me to go and buy those with the Bosch system, which I had a couple of tools already on Bosch, which I still use, they would have been about 3 times the price of these. So it seemed worth having a look at them, and actually having used them and 2 months in, I don't see why there is any complaints, because value for money and actually the quality of them, of course they've got warranty and stuff like that. The battery lasts longer on the impact driver and the drill and things like that when I compare it to the Bosch. Yes, there may be other little bits that haven't quite got the finesse, but I'm not a tradesman. I'm not doing this day in, day out, working on work sites. It just doesn't make sense for me to go out and spend 10 grand kitting out on Festool and all that. So there is a market for all this, which is what this channel is about. It's a DIY channel about, working with what you have, and slowly as you get more into it and you can buy an extra couple of tools every now and then, you've got to think about what you're going to spend your money on. And actually, if I have to use a cordless jigsaw twice a month, it doesn't make sense to spend any more than this. And this is far enough for what I need anyway. Again, I have other tools on different battery systems. So I've got the Hitachi framing nailer because it's a unique tool. I'm not going to necessarily have everything on Hitachi just because I've got that one nailer, or Hikoki or whatever. I'm happy to just have a battery charger. It lasts the whole day, one battery, so having a charger is no different from charging up a camera. I don't have a Bosch camera. Same with the little Ryobi brad nailer. It's quite a unique tool, and for the money there's nothing anywhere near it, so I'm happy to have a charger which I only use for that. But for the basic circular saw, impact driver, cordless units and drill driver and things like that, then yes, it makes sense to stick on one battery system. It was just really to say that I don't really have a particular alliance to a particular colour power tool, and at the end of the day, if it does the job and it does it well, that's enough for me. And also, if it's a corded tool, then it doesn't really matter too much whether one thing's one brand or another brand, as long as it plugs into the same supply. Now, talking of corded power tools, I can't leave without sharing this big boy. This is basically a supersized version of my existing circular saw, which I've been using for all the oak and the framing so far. The main thing with this one is that the depth of cut is 102 millimeters or something along those lines. So the key for me was getting a saw which would cut over at least half of the depth of the 6x6 posts, the 150mm posts that I use. And going up to this one made sense because I can get through a sleeper from one side. Otherwise, if you're making all those cuts like I have in the past, you're always constantly flipping the timbers, and if you've got a 4 meter long beam, it's just a bit of a pain each time. Also, with my smaller circular saw, I was cutting in 60mm or something like that from each side, and then you'd end up with a chunk in the middle which you had to use with a handsaw. The handsaw kerf is never the same as the circular saw kerf, so you'd always end up with a little bit there that you had to then chisel off or plane off, and you get the idea. It's going to speed things up. It's a pretty basic tool. It's not quite got the same quality as some of the smaller Makita stuff, so I don't know quite what's badged up here. But anyway, it's 2,100 watts of grunt, and it should get the job done. It's actually more powerful and got a bigger depth of cut than my table saw, so yeah, go figure that. If you've got any other tips, what have you picked up from Lidl or Aldi or wherever, Amazon, that you swear by, then do let us know. But as you know, I have shared in the past all sorts of tools. Another one I just spotted in my toolbox, these bags that I always use for, you know, window fitting or anything like that. Again, from Lidl, they're great. But anyway, leave a comment below. I love hearing what deals you've been getting. Anyway, that's our bonus video. Back to normal schedule tomorrow.